Question: are you practicing making beats, or are you practicing things about making beats? I know that question may sound alike on both ends, but don't worry, we're going to go through a few things in this video that will not only give you an idea of what that question means, but it just may help out with a new avenue or a new direction as to where you go next when it comes down to your beat making. What's up, guys? This is the kid DZD, aka the Kang. Welcome back to another video on the channel. I hope all you guys are doing well, and I appreciate you guys locking in with me once again to learn more about how you can improve your beat making skills. Okay, let's talk about 3 things that can be of great value whenever we're trying to learn anything or attain a skill set to anything, not just making beats. The first is a guide. The second is discipline, and the third is instruction. As a matter of fact, these 3 things are so important, they make up the reasons why sometimes people are halted in a skill set or why they even stop altogether. As we break these 3 things down, I want you to keep in mind that question that we posed at the beginning of the video. Are you just practicing making beats, or are you practicing things about making beats? So let's think about a guide. Simply put, that's something for you to follow.
I agree.
A guide, in general terms, is a list of suggestive points that will help us to get from one point to another point. Sometimes that guide can be in general terms, sometimes it can be very, very detailed and very specific. One of the distinct characteristics of a good guide is that it's going to be something that's going to be simple enough to lock you in. That way you can now form a pattern of doing something very consistent. For beat making, a lot of you guys have chosen YouTube as a guide. You've locked in with different channels, that way you can get that simple regimen time and time again on learning a basic, consistent set of skills. That way you can now move forward in your beat making. But here's the thing, a guide is also used for another purpose that sometimes is overlooked. A guide is not only used as a list of steps that can get you from one place to another. A guide is also used to provide you with some key points that may be missing from what you already know. There may even be some things that I need further clarification on as I follow that guide from step to step. So understanding what a guide is used for and looking at it a bit more in depth, we now have to ask ourselves the question, am I going to be practicing the actual guide, or am I going to be practicing things that are inside of the guide that now form some type of regimen of practice? Let's take sports, for example. No doubt it takes a lot of practice to achieve a higher level of whatever sport you're playing. Someone can hand me a guide or an outline of how a basketball game is played. That guide is going to involve simple things such as passing, shooting, dribbling, so forth and so on. So now that I have this guide available to me, does it mean that I start practicing basketball? Or does it now mean that I start practicing those specific things about that guide? See, there are mechanics involved in shooting. There are certain mechanics involved in passing. There are certain mechanics involved in dribbling. Me getting more familiar with those things are not me practicing the basketball game. It's me practicing the things about the basketball game. So now let's put our beat making in the place of sports. Should I be making beats and calling that my practice? Or should I be practicing the things about beat making? There are mechanics involved in drum patterns. There are mechanics involved in melody making. There are mechanics involved in mixing. Practicing those individual things in beat making instead of practicing beat making will give me a better idea of how to accomplish the overall task of making a beat. Think about the practice of a basketball game, or any sport for that matter. When you look at that practice, they're not just practicing the game over and over again. They break off into small sections and they're now practicing things about the game. You may see a section over here that's practicing passing. You may see a section over here that's practicing shooting. You may see a section over here that's practicing some dribbling exercises. All of these things are small details that make up the entire game. So if you have a guide already of making beats and you're trying to learn more about it, why not focus more on the specific things about making beats? Possibly you can take some time to learn drum patterns. You can take some time to learn melody making. You can take a little bit of time to learn the identification of sounds and how to place them well in your melodies. All of these specific things are not you practicing making a beat. It's you practicing things about making beats. So use your guides on YouTube for what it is, but it's now your job to understand the specific things about that guide that you may need to dive deeper on and understand. Are you now starting to get a better idea of practicing making beats versus practicing things about making beats? If you are, do me a quick favor and drop a comment below. Let me know about some of the things that you practice individually in making beats. Also, let me know in the comments below if it's some things that you may need help with when it comes down to those specific things about making beats. There are a lot of knowledgeable people in the comments, not just myself, and we all can share in helping each other get better at what we're doing. Now let's look at the second thing, which is discipline. It says that discipline means training and instruction to cultivate self-control and adherence to rules or standards. It's about learning, practicing, and applying a system of standards to achieve meaningful objectives. Now, there are some key words in that definition right there that help us out to understand what discipline is. Look at it again. Cultivate self-control. There's also learning, practicing, and applying. Those three things are a given when it comes down to being disciplined at anything. But cultivating self-control, let's think about that for a second. Anything that requires self-control means that it may not be a walk in the park to do it. It means that some type of way I'm gonna have something that's leading me in a different direction or in an opposite direction of the thing that I'm trying to learn. Hence why self-control is needed. One of the things that can prove to work against us when it comes down to discipline is time.
You got that right.
You have heard the phrase that time can be your worst enemy. The reason why is because to learn anything, it takes a period of time to do so. In this period of time, it can be very easy to get sidetracked, unfocused, or even on a totally different direction altogether. Now, the average person out there will tell themselves that I have got to make time in order to accomplish something. But let's think about it. How do we actually make time? Is it possible to put a 25th hour in a day? Is it possible to tell time, hold on and wait while I get prepared and ready to do something?
No.
Here's an idea. Instead of telling yourself that I have got to make time to do something, why not change that and tell yourself that I need to buy out time to do something? I'll give you an idea of what that means. We've all been to a store or a marketplace, right? The premise of going to a store is I'm going to have to give up money in order to receive a product in return. So if I take that same idea and now apply it to time, that now means that I'm going to have to give up something in order to receive the time in return. And you now understand why self-control is needed in discipline? Self-control doesn't really mean that I'm going to force myself to get into a habit or a pattern or something, so I have to have self-control to do that. What self-control means is that in order for me to receive that time, some of the things that I may have to release, I may not want to get rid of. I actually may like doing. As much as we may like keeping our money in our pockets, it requires a measure of self-control for me to now release that money in order to get a product back. So it's no different with time and the things we may have to release in order to receive that time back. That's called buying out time, not making time. It will now require a measure of self-control for me to now prioritize what I'm trying to learn instead of the things that I'm trying to hold on to. The third thing that we mentioned in the outset of the video is instruction. Now, we covered a bit about instruction when we spoke about the first thing, which was the guide. Instructions are very similar to a guide, but this is one thing that we may not think about with instructions that can prove to be very, very useful. Let's think about a person that wants to exercise and wants to live a healthier lifestyle. Sure, they can watch a lot of videos that's going to give them a list of steps that they can follow, which will serve as a guide for them to accomplish their goal. But the reason why someone may benefit from instructions is because of the instructor that it's coming from. So instead of just watching those videos, you see a lot of people who are very successful at accomplishing their goal simply because they enlist the help of an instructor. Having a guide focuses on how well you can interact with that specific thing you are following. But having an instructor focuses on how well that person can now interact with you. Having someone there versus just watching someone now affords you the opportunity to now take in what's called personal interaction. The things that you may have watched on that video may need to be tweaked or may need to be altered a bit for it to now fit you and your mentality. In your process of watching that guide on a video, you may get sidetracked by other things that you are watching and taking in. But that personal instruction that you receive can now help you be focused and firmly fixed on the goal that is in front of you. It's no different than a person that's exercising. They may get a lot of benefit from watching those videos. Once they now join with some type of personal instructor, a simple push-up or a simple sit-up can now be tweaked in a certain way to where it now targets what you need in the fashion that you need it. By the way, thank all of you guys who have allowed me to lock in with you on your journey of learning more about making beats. Just a few months ago, we celebrated over 5,000 of those sessions that have occurred.
Damn!
That's something that I would have never thought of happening, and it's also something that I'm very humbled by that you guys chose me to make that happen with. The link is always in the video description for any one of you guys that want to actually get that personal help and see if the guides that you're taking in from the videos that you are watching can now be tweaked to fit you and your specific circumstances. So hopefully going into a bit more detail about these 3 simple things, guide, discipline, and instruction, now gives you a better understanding of what it means to practice things about making beats versus just practicing making beats. If you got any benefit from this video, or if you feel inspired in any type of way, please drop that comment below and also hit that like button, because I really would like to know if you get anything out of these type of videos versus just me being on screen making beats. I know you guys enjoy those videos as well, and I have more of those coming. So if you aren't locked in with us yet, you may want to hit that subscribe button. That way you can stay up to date when I drop all of those videos. I'm going to try and check out every single one of you guys' comments and also try and reply to each one of them. I really appreciate you guys giving me a little bit of time on this video, and I also appreciate the past and future support that you guys show the channel. Make sure you guys also check out my new loop kit that has just dropped called the Perennial loop kit. It's an awesome, amazing loop kit. It is now available for you guys. You guys get a composition of about 30 different melodies that gives you the loops and that are also broken down in the stems, which were made mostly on my hardware synthesizers to give you guys a very good quality sound. If you guys want to connect with me and say what's up or give me a shout out, Instagram is probably the best place to do that. Make sure you drop me a follow on IG at @TheDrainKang. Shoot me a DM and I'll try and get back to you guys as soon as I can. Thank you guys again for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Peace.